thing I've discovered is I can't dance and control the soundboard at the same time. It's hard. Multitasking. Multitasking has never been my thing. Y'all, how much of a disaster was last week? Cheers. I'm glad.
Cheers.
I mean, I just wanted to hang out with y'all, but I let the logistics of the podcast stress me out. It was a bomb. It bombed.
What kind of beer are you pouring yourself there?
Woo, I got the espresso porter from Palmetto.
Yeah, you love porters, right?
I love porters and stouts. Yeah,
heavy.
It's heavy.
What
man.
is it, like 95 degrees? Nothing like a good heavy stout.
I mean, I don't know why they cut off the stout production in the summer. I like it year round. Anyway, what are you having?
Tara?
I've got a Sierra Nevada Wild Little Thing, and it's a slightly sour. Like, I don't like super sour beers, but this one's got just enough. I would describe it as a alcoholic Capri Sun.
Oh, that sounds sweet. That sounds sweet. Sierra Nevada, I'll have to check that out. So it's not an IPA. It's like it is a true sour. It's just
I think technically, yeah.
Gotcha.
So I've actually enjoyed it. Got crazy with the variety packs at Costco. So it's kind of like I reach in. What's it going to be today?
Yeah. Cool.
You're brave.
What are you drinking?
I just have a red blend from my NPR wine club.
In the gold.
Pretty good. In the gold.
Do you hear that noise?
I'm sorry. Adam's vacuuming.
Oh, okay.
I keep turning on mute. Sorry.
That is so awesome. No, it's fine. Let me also try to stop sharing the
I need to vacuum. It's a good reminder.
Stop sharing.
Well, my mom's coming tomorrow, and not that my mom is like, oh, your house isn't vacuumed, but like it really needed a good vacuuming up here. So
we've got Dave's parents coming in late tomorrow night where I'm like, okay, what do we need to do beforehand? And part of them coming is hopefully they'll clean for us.
Yeah.
So you just need like fresh sheets, make sure there's some food, and it doesn't.
Where are they coming from?
They live at like Fort Mill, if you're familiar, outside of Rock Hill, South Carolina.
South Carolina. My good friend David Beebe lives there in Fort Mill. He's from Fort Mill. Is your husband from Fort Mill?
Well, I mean, he moved there in middle school. But he went to school there and stuff.
Do you know David Beebe? Have you ever heard that name?
David Beebe. I have not, but I will ask. It's funny because a good friend of ours, his coworker was from Fort Mill, and one night we found some of Dave's yearbooks here, and we went through and we found the guy's brother. So it's definitely a small world.
Yeah.
It sure is.
Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Isn't that where isn't David Vaughn from there?
Huh. That's a good question. I don't know.
There's a lot of Davids in Fort Mill.
or Rock Hill. One of those two.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I don't. We'll have to follow up on all these questions. Make sure we get answers on where our people are from.
The world wants to know.
The world wants to know. What else has been going on in everybody's life? It feels like this week just flew by.
It did. It went by fast.
Caroline had her wisdom teeth taken out, so she's had a miserable couple of days.
That's always fun.
And so anyway, that seems partly why it seems to have flown by for me. But
I did that after. Well, I only had one taken out. I still have the others because I waited till my 30s to do it, and I had one taken out the year after Cece was born, and it was motivation to stop nursing, so that I could take any medication I needed to. And it was it stunk. But I will say nothing compared to childbirth. So
piece of cake after that.
I was like, this is probably good timing. Like a year later, I still remember it fresh,
Yeah.
That's funny. I had mine taken out in high school, and it was over Christmas break, and like they had to like cut all of mine out. It was like a blur. Like I do not remember the week of Christmas during high school.
I bet. Right.
Yeah.
Had chipmunk cheeks.
Yeah, exactly. Like my one cheek was all because it was just on one side. I didn't take anything, and then except for like Advil, and of course when they were doing it. But I told them when they gave me the prescription, because I'm just really weird about that kind of stuff. So I was like, I don't even want that at my house. And they were like, well, you should probably fill it just in case. So we did, but apparently I told them that I was going to use some other recreational drugs at the doctor's when I don't remember.
When you were coming out of the anesthesia.
Which is weird, because like I don't really use other recreational drugs, but I told them that. I was like, oh yeah, and they were like, they thought it was funny. And I was like,
anesthesia makes you feel so free.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I really was like owning the world. I was like, we should get a chair like this at home.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah, I had anesthesia last week actually myself, but I snapped right out of it. Whatever new type of, well, it was new to me. I had my wisdom teeth out when I was, I don't know, 18 or 19, and I was, it was crazy coming out of that. And then actually I had sinus surgery, and I was crazy coming out of that. But this most recent one, it was almost instantly I was right back to normal.
That's crazy.
Which is, I guess that's good. I didn't make a fool of myself.
Yeah, I think that's pretty positive.
Yeah. So,
I always appreciate the laughing gas you get at the dentist if you're doing like a fill-in or anything like that. That one's easy enough to, at least for me, it's easy enough to come out of.
Right.
See, they don't do it at my dentist. You
gotta find a dentist with laughing gas.
Yeah, maybe
sure. Step up your game, your dentist game.
It is really like, I mean, I honestly do need to go to the dentist, but because of the whole pandemic and like, I went in the very beginning of the pandemic, and now that we're a hot spot, like I waited because I really do need to go back in. I think I need a crown. And I was like, I should have just gone back in like 2 weeks after I'd gone the first time, because I knew then that it was an issue, but now we're like a hot spot in Charleston. I'm like, I'm not going to the dentist.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't hurt.
It's only if I eat on that side, so I just only eat on the other side.
Yeah, we're down the other side. Yeah, we're down the other side.
It'll be fine. In a year, I'll go to the dentist and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Honesty goes a long way.
Do y'all want to look at this Grateful Adopter thing real quick? So I'll break this up, this video. I'll like do a fade out on this part. Yeah. And then we'll do Grateful Adopter since we got a few more minutes.
Sure.
I'll do like a high-speed version. Well, no, not too high-speed. It'll be conversational, which is what I didn't do last time. Let me close some of the stuff. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, screen 2. So you guys tell me what you're thinking about all this and what you think is cool about it or lame about it or whatever. So here is... here's ResearchPoint. Let me just close out. No, I'm gonna leave that open. Okay, here's the cool thing about this Grateful Adopter concept that we've been working on. Blackbaud's done Grateful patient screenings for a long time, and for our hospital clients. And for several years now, I've been thinking, why in the world don't we do this for my clients, shelter, animal shelters? Why don't we screen the adopters or the vet clinic customers?
Speaking of pet adoption, let me let Rita in.
Let Rita in.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. Go get her. I don't want Lauren to miss this. It's so good. Can't believe my microphone problems. She's back.
I'm back.
Okay, so here's the latest on this thing. So they're gonna, as part of the subscription, so a client would buy this subscription service from Blackbaud, and the price varies just depending on a few different things. So as part of the subscription service, we're gonna set up an automated flow of the data. So we will create a script, if you will, or something like that, to log into their shelter management tool and pull out the file every day or every night at midnight or whenever we're going to do it. And when they come in the next morning, all this adopter data will be loaded in. And I'll go to prospects, and I've created some lists here, but let me just create a new one.
And the ultimate goal of this is to help these shelters find the right people to put into your database, right? Not every adopter is going to give. They're not maybe going to have the capacity, or the propensity to give. But what this allows you to do is identify those people and put them in your system and start cultivating those that have the potential to give.
Correct. Yep. And so that's a good point. I'm glad you kind of backed me up on that. So a lot of shelters I talk with say, no, the adopters are not donors. And so if there are other nonprofits out there, YMCA, they might say, well, no, our members, they pay their membership, they're not going to donate. Or, you know, you name it, any other sort of nonprofit who has an outside sort of bucket of people they engage with, they might think they're not donors. Well, okay, maybe that's by and large true, but there are people who are in your realm who are wealthy and philanthropic. And we're trying to say, hey, let's find that subset of people and give them some attention in the right way. So I'll go in here and just say, I'm going to grab my target analytics. I just want to start by filtering this report on people who at least have some data showing up on the screening that we've run. So in most of the sample test files I've been running, it's been about 1,000 pet adopters, and I'll call this test for today for podcast. How about that? And then I think this is relatively easy to work with. It's not as modern and friendly as maybe Razor's Edge NXT, but let's just kind of work through this. And of course, you can synchronize all this data with Razor's Edge, but half the point is that you might say, well, I don't want to synchronize everybody. I just want to synchronize the people who have better giving potential. So I'm going to clear out these. So I'm going to I'm going to create my columns, and I'm going to choose, this is discretionary spending. I'm going to choose, and these are models. These are data models. So we grab the person's first name and address, and based on what we can find in our proprietary and public data sources, we've run a model, and these are like data scientists who've come up with these algorithms to create these scores. And so
I think data scientist is such a fancy title.
It is.
It just makes you feel so smart,
man. These guys are smart. And another cool thing that's fascinating to me is when a client is willing to give us other types of non-philanthropic data. So in the case of animal shelters, it might be species. Well, did they adopt a dog or a cat? Mm-hmm. And I want to find out, well, is there some trend in cat owners being more philanthropic than dog owners? That type of thing is fascinating to me. So I'm going to grab this target analytics. Well,
what do you guys think? Do you think cat people or dog people are more philanthropic?
What do you think?
Dogs. I like dogs better.
I would think I like dogs better, but I think cat people are probably more philanthropic.
Interesting.
I kind of had the exact same thing
behind it.
Well, the reasoning I think is like a cat's more practical. I know that's weird, but like dog people are like all about their dog and their family, but I would think like the cat people are more like altruistic for some reason. Like they're thinking more big picture. Like if I want to go on vacation, it's okay to leave a cat. I don't know.
They go on vacation more, leaving their cats more, meaning they have the potential to give more.
Bingo.
I think the cat people are just more like, let's just say in general, the animal welfare sort of realm, people are passionate. Like you got a spectrum of people who are, mildly interested in it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, people who are just like nuts. Well, there's a lot of people on sort of that end of the spectrum. And I think those are mostly the cat people. You hear about this term, the crazy cat lady. People take pride in that, like, oh, I'm the crazy cat lady. But,
I bet if you statistically looked at it, it's the people that have both a dog and a cat that are the most philanthropic, and then it's like the cat people, then the dog people.
Probably
That's
so.
So far, I don't have any sample
data.
Animals.
We need to find this.
Exotic animals.
Oh,
they're probably the most philanthropic.
I bet they're the least.
That, dude. No, those people are crazy. I watched Tiger King. It's troubling.
Yeah, Tiger King's was troubling.
That's troubling.
I could only watch one episode.
I regret that I watched more than one. It was terrible. So I will show you. Actually, I'm going to come back to your comment there. I've actually got some data from like 6 or 7 shelter clients. So I'm going to go in. So now I've moved all my screens around, my fields, and I'm just going to sort it. I'm going to click on this thing that says Target Analytics Wealth Segmentation, and sort it by, I've got A1, A2, A3. Let me pull up one more thing here. This is really cool right here. You guys seeing this film, this 5 donor group? Okay. Actually, what this Grateful Adopter thing will do is load in, this is modeled estimated annual income, estimated net worth, investments, discretionary spending, and then and then these groups. So let me so Houston SPCA won't mind me showing their stuff. I'll come back to this in a minute. But you've got the philanthropist. So in really simple terms, a client might say, well, I'm going to have a high touch outreach to these people. I'm going to personally have the CEO call these people who are A1s and thank them for adopting at the SPCA. The humanitarians, they, I don't know for sure, but it seems like they'd be good prospects for a sustaining monthly gift. And then the casual people, a one-time gift perhaps. And you might say, well, I'm going to ask these people for a $20 gift. These people who are like a C1 might ask for a $75 gift. And then, in between down below, the enigmas and the masses, it's not that we don't care about them, but if you've got limited resources, you can't spend a lot of time on those people. So
the humanitarians are the ones that don't necessarily have as many. They have a multitude of like organizations that they'll give to, and they're not necessarily the most loyal. So that's why a sustaining gift is good for them, because you can think, well, if we get them as a sustainer, they're going to continue to be a little bit more engaged with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they do seem to have, based on our models, they have some financial wherewithal to be able to make some sort of gift. It's some really cool, interesting, data on what we see in this group. The type of
wait, maybe I'm wrong.
Have.
They're steady, devoted, and faithful. My bad. Maybe it's another group then.
Well, you might be thinking about people who are kind of bound, who they are philanthropic, but the casual donors kind of
that's what I'm
groups. Yeah, so there's different, lots of cool, fascinating data around this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But on a really
sorry,
she's getting excited.
She wants to go back out the door.
Oh yeah, that's the way it is. They want to come in. They want to go.
Yep.
Wherever they are, they want to be somewhere else.
She can't stand a closed door.
Yeah. It's okay, Rita.
You're all right, Rita.
So what a client could do if they get this information, and it's surprising to me how many A's, B's, and C's we're finding in pet adopters. There are a lot.
Yeah,
there are a lot of them there. And you might say, well, gosh, I can't personally cultivate every single one of these people, but I'm going to look at certain data. Like I'm going to combine the fact that they're A1 and they seem to have a net worth of at least, call it 10 million. And I'm going to focus on those people. And then I can go into that person's record and do a deep dive to see, well, is there, does it look like they're wealthy because they have one house and it's worth, $20 million in San Francisco? That might not necessarily mean they're wealthy. They just inherited a house and that's got their, that's where they live. But this guy, we've got a lot of confidence in these addresses belonging to this person. So that's interesting. He owns stock in these publicly traded companies, things like that. So all these gory details increase our confidence about pursuing a major gift with this person, right?
Well, and I think to this stage that you're in, you're narrowing down that pool to see who you can actually target and spend that time with and where those priorities lie. And you get to be selective about what you bring into, in this case, Razor's Edge NXT, as far as now who can we cultivate and track all of that with. So you kind of have this pool area to dig into every now and then, or however frequently, to bring over and start cultivating those folks.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
the philanthropic giving is interesting. If the information is being pulled from somewhere other than their donor management, they don't have to be a Razor's Edge client. If they're a Razor's Edge client, and they pull in data, we might see the gifts to their organization. But this is public information. Blackbaud goes out and organizes millions and millions of pieces of data. So it was probably in the Autism Speaks annual report that Kenneth had given in that $25,000 to $50,000 range. And so the fact that it was in that annual report, we were able to capture that information and put it in our database. So that's public information that we've organized in a useful way here. So anyway, another cool thing that I just learned today about this, about using ResearchPoint, is I can go in here and say, all right, in my town, I'm going to go to people that are not even in my database at all. And I want to find, I'm going to go to the advanced search, put in my zip code. And I'm going to go down to this giving categories and say, give me all of the people that have some sort of philanthropic giving that are animal related, and search on that. And so this is searching people I don't even know about. They're not even in my database necessarily, but it's finding this list, and I can go and drill down on these people and decide, do I want to sync this record with Razor's Edge and start pursuing, cultivating? They seem to give to animal causes. Anyway,
this is also a great thing to do in your board members. Like, well, did you ever call so-and-so that lives down the street from me? I know he has tons of money.
They're right there in your zip code, in your neighborhood.
And then you pull them up and you're like, yeah, but they've never given to one organization in their lives. So
yeah. Well, hopefully that's not showing
Save
up
myself
in here.
time.
Yeah.
But I sort of dig this thing, man. I'm,
It's
if I were,
cool. It's fun to play with.
if I were trying to raise money for,
And the whole point is just making it manageable. When I was in fundraising, it was like, who do we go after? Right? I mean, there's so many people. I worked at a symphony specifically, and a hospice, actually. Even a hospice, it's like so many people came through our doors. There was so much opportunity, but to whittle down our time was, that this was really important, to find the people that really needed to have a conversation. And what we were doing is identifying, hey, this person obviously has a passion. They adopted a dog, or they obviously had a family member who was a part of our program. They subscribed to the symphony, whatever the case may be. And now I'm going to help them, put their money where they're passionate about, and give them the opportunity to get more engaged with my organization. And that's what it's all about. You're really helping them find a place to put their philanthropic dollars and feeling appreciated too, right? If you're reaching out to them and you're interacting with them and you're getting them involved, that's really what is important to them, probably. And I just think it's really important to manage your time and find the right people to talk to.
Well, and time just management. To kind of piggyback off of that, it's like, this would be hours of Googling that I would do in order to even come close to a list like this, to see where do we just use our administrative time more wisely.
Yep.
But when you think about when you can segment and be more strategic about who you're talking to, it's not just sending out mass bulk emails and just seeing what sticks. You're actually understanding where that person wants to give, and you're pinpointing the areas that are going to be of interest of them, and not just kind of blowing up their inbox.
Yep. That's right.
I almost forgot I was going to show you some interesting results.
Oh yeah. I want to see it.
I wonder if I can.
Are you showing us your ResearchPoint record?
Well, no,
because mine's worthless.
Oh, I did change this one. I did. You're what? No, I'm not going to pull you. I changed this one. This is an actual client's data. This is out in the middle of nowhere, really. I mean, if I told you what town this was, but it would give it away. But they have this is the lowest number of out of 1,815 animal adopters. They had 34 people, and I think 815 adopters was probably for them, I don't know, a month or two worth of adopters. But 34 people, even though that's a relatively low number, those are 34 people that deserve a phone call, or at least a handwritten note from the CEO. 91, that's a good chunk of people to give like a somewhat targeted sort of style of follow-up and engagement. And then
look at those cat adopters.
Number. Yeah, totally. And then, and I kind of organized it down here. Of the dog adopters, 3% looked like they're in the A category, and then 9%. So it's fairly even, on this particular client. A little heavy on the E's there.
Cats are a little heavier.
A little bit. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that's interesting, and I don't think these guys will mind me sharing their information. This is in Philly. They have almost the dog adopters, at least based on these 939 records we screened, almost twice as likely to be an A.
Interesting.
Ooh.
No, that doesn't. I mean, again, it's just these are models. It's not like hard facts, but it's based on everything we gathered. These people like A's. So that's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
And so, yeah, it's pretty. This is actually it's interesting. I just now realized that's 4%, same as the other one I just looked at. 4, 13, 20. So, yeah, I think this data stuff's cool. I would love to look at 200 shelters and find some sort of trend that we can sync our do.
And this is like, I think what people need to understand is this is nothing new necessarily to, the world, right? It's new to animal shelters, but hospitals have been doing this forever, and they're taking this information, and this information is out there too. It's public data that we're just bringing into one place. So it's just important to think about that, right? Like if it worked for one industry, it really will work for others. I know we did this kind of thing at hospice. It is pretty successful in arts organizations. It's definitely something that I think shelters can benefit from. And I think it's really exciting too.
I do too. Yeah. And for the other non-shelter clients out there, or prospective clients, nonprofits, you just got to think who's in our realm that's not necessarily coming directly into the donor system, that we need to be at least aware of, kind of cultivate in some form or fashion. So very cool.
There it is.
Click the button.
Get out of the picture.
See y'all.
Bye. Have a good week. Well, have a good weekend. I'll probably talk to you tomorrow. Woo!